Hello, everyone, and welcome to PWD Allies podcast. Today we have Chantelle Montour joining me on the show. My name is Brent Frain. I'm the host, and I hope you enjoy today's show. It's really focused on parenting and disability. And please check out the podcast wherever you find it best suited for you. And also, as a programming note on today's show, before I introduce Chantelle into the show, I would love it if you could send in your comments and your lived experience stories on our live chat feed. We'll do our very best to actually get to each question and your comments as we can. But again, thanks for tuning in to PWD Allies podcast today. Chantelle Montour, once again, thank you so much for coming back onto the show. It's always a great pleasure having you on.
No problem. I think today's topic is an important one for a lot of Canadians because it's a stressful time, especially with school and I mean their food programs haven't started yet. The bus pass programs haven't started yet, and they expect the kids to be there every day. It's like,
Mhm.
no. That's not gonna work until you guys have everything set up, which should be done before they start. It's madness.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's about prioritizing, what the programs and services that need to be put in place before the kids go back to school, and making sure that parents are provided with the proper resources to provide to their children with disabilities, and with political leaders maybe not having the things prioritized. It really messes up a person's life in so many ways.
oh, it does. And like it's not even just it's not like if it were affecting me, I don't care. But it's not affecting me, it's affecting my children. Now
Exactly.
you've crossed the line
Yeah.
that you can't come back from with me because those are my babies. They deserve clothes. They deserve the proper food and nutrition to go to school. And I've been doing this for 26 years. My son just turned 26 years old in September, and for 26 years they've been trying to hold me down and not be able to not be able to give my kids the things I want. When I was working, they got everything. We went to the zoo. We went to, different
Yeah.
places. We got to go visit things. And now it's like, oh, no, sorry, we can't even go for coffee. We can't go and have a family outing. That's expensive.
Yeah. Because I mean, you can approach it. You can approach the show from two different angles, and we will. The one angle is you can say, well, parenting and disability, saying that it's your son or daughter that has the disability, or
My
you can
daughters.
say, it's the parent that has the disability. Like in my case, I'm the one with the disability. I'm the parent, and actually my son is able-bodied. But because I'm disabled and I'm on disability assistance, it does affect him, right?
Hmm.
That I have to be the one to make the hard choices. I'm always putting whatever extra money I have to him. I'm the one that doesn't get the clothes for myself
Yeah.
and doesn't get the specialty coffees or whatever for myself. Like I'm always making as many cutbacks as I can to afford something special for my son, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. So
Now
there,
I
there's
understand
there's
that.
two ways to look at it. Like I said, so you either have a son or daughter with a disability, and that's one issue, or you yourself are the parent with a disability, as in my case. But in either case, you're still making sacrifices, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now the food banks, you call and they're like, "Oh, like we don't have enough. We just don't have it on the shelves." And it's like, "Okay, now what do you do?"
Hmm.
Like now I then you got to go begging to others and strangers who you don't know. And it's embarrassing. Like, but you know what? For my kids, I'll get on there and beg every day if I have to.
Hmm.
And I get rude comments. I get told off, and I'm fine with that. You know what? You got a problem with it? I get it. But you know what? I'm still gonna do it for my kids. I've never begged for anything for myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm. A recent
Always for my
report that just
babies.
came out about Food Bank Canada saying that record amount of people that are in need of accessing the food bank program, the system across our beautiful country, is growing rapidly, and food banks are not able to keep a lot of them. Are not able to keep the shelves filled. And you know, it's a lot of newcomers that are coming onto the system of accessing the program, and you
That's my biggest problem
yeah,
right now.
and that's
Is
what the problem is though too, is that it goes to show that people's buying power, it's not there anymore, and of course the government with all their taxations have taxed people to the hilt of now prices have gone right up through the roof, and
and
food
it's
banks.
going up again.
Yeah.
It's going
Yeah.
up again. Like if last question period, they were talking about it going up again, and I was just like, no, stop. Like get him out. I'm
Yeah.
You
done.
know,
Like
one thing I did want to address too, and I think it's important, is like again, t just taking my own situation,
mhm.
that I have, like I said, an able-bodied son, and I'm on disability. Like my son is, I can try to be, what is it, humble, and but my son honestly is very talented musically.
Hmm.
And so, like he basically taught himself how to play piano all by himself. Basically taught himself guitar essentially by himself. So like amazing. He just has the ear for music, right? So I've always wanted to really encourage that. And one of the things I have to give credit to the school because the music teacher at the school, she's amazing, like really, really amazing. And every year at the school, you have to, it's usually you have to spend, I think it's $120 to rent instrument every year at
Yeah.
at the school, right? And the teacher every year, I think for the last 4 years now, has well, actually, he's in grade 11 this year, so it's been 3 years, I guess. But she's waived it. She
Oh wow.
Oh, that's nice.
she's waived the fee. And that's great. But I mean, that's depending on other people's charity, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
Definitely.
and also I've said before too is like my dentist does the same thing. My dentist pays out of pocket. They know my situation, that the government is clawing back all of my survivor's pension, and they
Mhm.
feel horrible. They feel bad.
Hmm.
So my dentist is picking up the slack, saying, well, if the provincial government won't look after you, we'll
We'll
do
do
our
it.
part and give you charity where the government's not not doing their part. And it kind of sucks that you have to depend on I mean like I said, it's really good. I'm so happy that the
Hmm.
school and the teacher, like the music teacher and everything, is so supportive. And also too, like not it was last year where or no, sorry, the year before last year, they did a school trip to, it was to Disneyland, California.
Okay.
and
Wow.
and it was like, it was over $2,000. And I said, there's no way I can afford that. Like, and
Yeah.
actually, I think it ballooned up to like almost $4,000 actually.
Oh
But that
wow.
was the original price was going to be $2,000. And I said, even at $2,000, there's no way I can afford that. So
Yeah.
almost Jake's entire class got to go, but he did not get to go. And
Oh.
again, this was not last year, but the year before. So he was about the only one in his entire class that didn't go because, of course, I couldn't afford it. But
Yeah.
last year, um, they got to go to Alberta,
Hmm.
and I think the price was it was around $500 or something, so more manageable. But I let the teacher know that I still couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
But luckily, again, there was one parent whose child had to withdraw, so they still offered up the $500. They said, I'll donate it for somebody else that needs it. And so there again, like was the beneficiary, so he was
Yeah.
able to go.
Right.
I wouldn't have been able to afford it
Yeah.
otherwise. So that's what I mean. Like
And it's
so much is
humiliating,
depending on charity, where you really should be depending on the government to do all
right?
this.
I mean, and when they were talking 2,700, I was like, this is doable. We can do this. On top of ODSP, yep, we can get rent done, our bills
Hmm.
done, take care of our children. That would have worked. But no, they want to claw back. They want our like the schools dropped the ball with my kids completely. They're neurodivergent. The testing has never been done for any kind of learning disability because my kids are nervous. I call them nervous Nellies because they're not really good with large crowds. They're not good with small crowds. Like my one daughter was like, I had a panic attack. There was 4 people in the class, mama. As it
Yeah.
4 people, I couldn't handle it. And I was like, that happens. And some days they can't go to school because they wake up so anxious that their stomach is upset. And I tried to explain this to the school, and they just told me my kids are unteachable. I'm
Mhm.
like, well, 2 months later, I was like, wow, the unteachable are now reading.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The unteachable can write now. They can print. They're not writing, but they're printing.
Mhm.
So, wow. They
What?
may not be able to get it all right on when you want them to, but you know what? They get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much cutbacks in our education system where teachers' assistants, they're
Oh,
been underfunded so much. I mean, I remember when I was back in school, there was the teachers' assistants. I mean, it was so underfunded then, and
Yeah.
so nothing's been fixed going forward. I mean, decades going forward. Again, it's a failure in our education system and a failure in our government for not
the
keeping
high
up.
school,
Yeah.
the
I
high school has been better than the grade schools because the grade school was just like, if she can't come in, that's her problem. Then you know what, we're not gonna like try and do what we can to help this child. But the high school, I got like a wonderful resource teacher, and he works with the girls. He's willing to sit with them alone and in the resource room, and for the first time this year they're actually going to school, but it's 1 or 2 days a week because again, anxiety gets them, and again, they can't get the studies done because they won't do it unless they have so many failing grades and all this other stuff. It's just like, what? Like, come on. Help the
Yeah.
kids out, do the testing so we know what's wrong, so we can like assess where we have to go with these children so that we can get them the help that they need.
What you're saying, Chantel, actually is got really big echoes to Tamara Taggart's episode. Just
Yes.
was it a week ago or so?
Yep.
We had Tamara Taggart on, and I know you probably don't know who she is, but she's a or she, she's still famous, but back in the as she retired from news media as a news anchor, I will say,
Mm,
about 6 years ago. But she's pretty famous for being a news anchor,
mm.
and she has a child, a boy with Down syndrome,
Oh yeah.
and what you're saying about you get told your child is unteachable. She was kind of saying the same thing of like always having to defend her son all the time, like,
Hmm.
my son can do this, my son can do this, and you keep telling me
Hmm.
like, he can't or whatever, and it's annoying.
The famous line that Tamara used on the show was, "Listen, listen,
Yeah,
listen to the
yeah,
Yeah.
politician."
Yeah.
And the politicians, for some reason, they're not listening. It's like, I don't know, maybe wax in the ears or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it's the
you
liberal
know, the policy-
government. That's it.
yeah,
Plain and simple.
I guess there's one question that I was wanting to ask you, Chantelle. If you had one question, what would be your one big question you'd want to give to every level of government right now? Like, what would be your one big question?
Why are we giving immigrants $5,000 plus hotel stay, and yet our citizens are in tents on the street, dying in the sub-zero temperatures, in the like over 120-degree temperatures with children? Like, what? Why are we so pro-immigrant right now when we need to close the borders, put housing up, and then we can restart the program again? But I mean, you dumped what, 1 million new people last year into Ontario. Now, those people don't realize that we have other provinces for some reason, and they just come here. It's like, no, there's a bigger place. Canada's huge.
Yeah.
Find a piece of wood, cut it down, build yourself a place. Good.
Yeah.
Like,
On average, there's over 500, I think, on average, 500,000 new immigrants coming into Canada every year.
and
Yeah, and they're spilling over. Like a lot of them are coming to Ontario and Quebec, and now they're spilling over to other provinces. And we're getting on average out to BC. One of the ministers in BC in British Columbia this is just an estimate, and of course the number is even higher. But they're saying estimate 10,000 new immigrants coming into BC every month. That's on average. I think the number is a lot higher than that, but I mean that's crazy numbers because again, our resources, our housing, our resources, our hospitals, our education system. I mean everything. We can't handle all this the surge of newcomers, right?
And it is a very complicated issue to try to solve, right? But I think it's important that we realize that it wasn't so long ago. Like I've actually been doing a fair bit of research. I mean, I'm not an expert by any means, but I've been looking into it. And if you go back in time, you realize that Canada used to be kind of the gold standard on how to handle immigration. They used to have this very elaborate point system. Is all kind of get into the details of it. I mean, somebody else can explain it better than me, but they had this very elaborate point system where if they would keep track of like, okay, do we have the housing to support X amount of people or whatever? So they had all this point system, and depending on what the point system was, they said yes, we can bring in X amount of people, or no, we can't.
Right.
And for whatever reason, like when we had COVID hit, all of a sudden they just open the gates wide and just let everybody in, and it's like you can't do that, And I think even before COVID hit, they were still doing that, but
Well, here's
but
another.
they're also bringing terrorists over, and what's that doing to our children?
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, are we giving terrorists Canadian citizenship now? Like, what?
When we can't even provide for our own citizens, there's a huge problem where you're supposed to take care of your own citizens and making sure that they have proper resources. When they're not doing that, that's a total neglect, especially when you have ability where. I mean, like I've mentioned this many times, even way back when on the when Twitter Space, when we had it on Twitter Space, and going forward, like anyone can have a disability at any point in time in their life. You'll develop disabilities as you get older, or acquire them from birth or any point in time in life. And disabilities do not end at 65. Government, just so you know, they don't just it's not a roadblock. They don't just stop all magically.
That's so
pink unicorn right behind me here.
Yeah. Pink unicorns and rainbows everywhere. Yep.
And it does bug me that there are a few people with disabilities that do have positions of power or have had positions of
Mhm.
power as
Oh, yeah.
MLAs.
Yeah.
Michelle Stillwell being one. I mean, she was horrible, like real. I mean, just straight up horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, as
Well,
I've said before, I mean, you don't take away a yearly bus pass that was $40 for the year. You don't take away that bus pass
mhm.
and say, "Oh, we're taking away for equity in the system." I mean, the definition of equity is to supplement something. It's not to take away something. It's an additive. It's an additive justice. Like, let's add something. Let's supplement something
Mhm.
to improve the justice implementation of something, not to like minus something and take it away. And so
Well, there was a huge
it
problem
just bugs me.
back
It
on
just
that issue too, because we not just the bus pass. I mean, that was a huge problem. I mean, like six, maybe
Yeah.
five, six people, maybe seven people maximum.
yeah,
We'll give her an extra credit on that one. But just a small little handful of people changed the whole system. But here's
yeah.
the other problem that I'm still hearing echoing in the disability community, that people are still foaming, but the government kind of shut down the debate and the discussion on it. There's
Yeah.
people, Chantel, who live in a rural area, and
Uh-huh.
they basically have a dial a ride service, if they're lucky, if that even comes by to get them their
Mhm.
transportation, or they'd have a like a handy dart type of vehicle that's a government subsidized vehicle that's
Yeah.
contracted out by the government. But of course, the demand is greater for taking those vehicles. Usually,
Mhm.
it's for appointments, for medical appointments, and maybe to drop them off for shopping.
Yeah.
However, it's about prioritizing it. Again, people now have to depend on that. Where those people with disabilities in a rural community, they were given a special transportation subsidy also because they didn't have conventional transit in their area. So they would get a lump sum amount of, like, I think $692, if somebody could maybe correct me on that if they listen to this, but 692, they would get a lump sum per year. Okay, one lump sum, and they could go and maybe buy insurance, or they could go and pay a family friend or maybe a neighbor to go and drive them around to wherever they need to go to, and they'd make that agreement. Now the government had changed that; they took it away, and they say equity in the system. Let's give everybody a choice. You can have
Yeah.
$52 transportation, or you want the cash, then you're not going to get the
Yeah.
transportation. You can use it for wherever you want. So again, a person could have used that lump sum and give it to a neighbor. Now they have to basically give it in increments. Yeah, it's not right. Again, the government didn't listen to an overall view, about they need to listen to about people with lived experience stories.
Yeah.
I encourage people to share their stories while you're listening to our live
Yeah,
broadcast today.
absolutely.
Right?
Because you know what? We need to get it out there and we need to let the government know, like, this is not cool. These are our children. These are Canadian citizens that were born in Canada.
Mhm.
And I'm sorry that you're paying 5,000 for every immigrant you let in. That's not my problem, nor is it my situation that I created. Therefore, why am I getting clawed back so that they can sit in two, three-star hotels overlooking Niagara Falls? I'm sorry, I'd love to sit in a hotel all day overlooking Niagara Falls. That'd be good. But no, they don't. They don't have that kind of program for us. Just just immigration.
Yeah.
And that's where I draw the line. Like, my kids come before non-citizens. Every Even every immigrant who does live in Canada, who gave birth in Canada, who was born here, they deserve to come before immigrants that are non-citizens. We all need to come together as one and be like, that's enough. We're done. He's got to go.
Mhm.
And they're not listening to the he's got to go part. Pierre is, because the vote of non-confidence. Let's hope that goes through today.
Mhm.
Yeah,
We
But
do we do have a
no.
comment in chat, Brent,
Hmm.
from Cloudy GG. And I think he or she is mentioning it's in reference to something posted on the Canada Gazette, and I think I remember seeing this. But the question is, what are your thoughts on the current draft regulations for the Canada Disability Benefit? Did you submit your recommendations to better the benefit?
Oh,
So
absolutely, I
yeah.
did. I've been on board, and you can ask Brent this since C-35.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. The original Canada Disability Benefit, the Bill
This-
C-35. So people that are
Yeah,
listening on live right now, Bill C-35 that Chantelle is referring to was the original Canada Disability Benefit Bill. And when the federal government called a snap election, that bill died after the first reading, after it got presented in. How convenient that it got presented at the first reading and poof, just died, and then
yeah,
it had to restart it from scratch. 4 years, just over 4 years later, everyone, we're still waiting on the Canada Disability Benefit that the federal government, Mr. Trudeau, yeah, you're watching, you're listening. Okay, you promised us over 4 years ago. We're still waiting. And
yeah.
what was recommended to Canadians with disabilities, now this is going to be a bombshell. People are going to hear this. Now, what
Mhm.
was recommended by their committee, and even one of the MPs who we've had on our show, Mike Morris, has
Yeah,
strongly suggested and recommendation to make it no less than a poverty level. Like it would be at $2,000. We've had other guests that have been on here who have actually, well, one of them in particular was sitting on a panel who was in disgust. It felt like a gut punch. Had recommended it to be no less than $2,000 per each individual in Canada for as a person with a disability on provincial or territorial assistance
Yeah,
in Canada.
let's just say, sorry, let's just say it was Michael Prince
Michael
and
Print, yes,
Michael Prince and Neil Belanger that were
yeah,
the two
yeah,
that were heavily involved in the consultations and
yeah.
everything to do with the CDB.
They
And they were both disgusted and they both stepped back and they said this is not what we advocated for at all.
and people with disabilities across Canada had put in their submissions to the government to tell them this is what we need. The amount obviously is much greater than that because when you have a disability, you have ongoing expenses, either your extra accessories that you need or medication, you name it, all of the above. And I'm not going to narrow it down to one specific things, but with having a disability is it's who you are, and like it's has to be accepted by the government to understand that we can't change that. We can't
no,
change who we want. The government would love everyone to is magically like having a pink unicorn. Poof! Oh, you're all better now. You're great.
I
Hey,
would.
unfortunately, we just take life as it is, and we want government to accept the fact that it's like seniors. Seniors, I mean, they recognize, oh, well, seniors' incomes need to be increased. How about people with disabilities who are seniors or not
Mhm.
seniors yet? You need to
Mhm.
take
Yeah,
care of citizens. But with that CDB, getting back to it on that topic, though, it was highly recommended to be no less than $2,000.
yeah,
Now, it was supposed to help over 1 million people. It went down to 600,000 people. It went
yeah,
down to 25,000 people. And then it
yeah,
got watered down again to saying,
yeah,
oh, up to $200. But
yeah,
here's the ingredients in the to make the cake. Okay, so government, yeah, it's the cake, and you can eat it too, right? So we can
yeah,
share it with you, but you'll get crumbs because we still
yeah,
get the cake because we're going to keep advocating to make sure that cake is baked properly. So with that,
exactly.
yeah. So that's a good metaphor.
Yeah,
So with that $200 up to now, the government said we're going to make it based on household income. No, not it should
yeah,
be based on the individual, not household income.
yeah.
Because now people,
That's not what passed royal assent, and that's
yeah,
what people need to realize. It passed royal assent.
yeah,
It is a law that they're supposed
Yeah.
to give a certain amount, that they're supposed to ensure that we are lifted up out of poverty, that the legislatively put us in,
yeah,
and Yet, no, we're 4 years on and still all we have is made.
Yeah.
Like,
All we hear is crickets.
Hey,
yeah,
Brent.
Yes.
Hey, Brent. When you were mentioning cake, do you
Yeah.
remember? Do you remember that song? Someone left the cake out in the rain, and
Oh
I
yes.
don't think I can take it because it took so long to bake it, and I'll never have that recipe again.
yeah.
Oh no. That's what we can all sing to the government,
Yeah.
about
They're
baking
made by
baking the
Neil,
proper
everybody.
cake. Baking the
Yes.
proper cake.
And we'll put the candles on there too for them.
Yeah.
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 And a bomb in it. Richard goes right next to Trudeau, right behind him, like smarten up. That's what I would like to do, just like something that's gonna snap him out of whatever like idiotic funk he's in, because he doesn't know what he's doing. He's literally during question period, it's him being a drama teacher.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you know what? Save the drama for your mama, because I don't want to hear it. Let's get down to policy. Let's get the policy right. For instance, I believe social services, like all social assistance programs, should be on a UBI system. Now, if we do a universal basic income system for disability people and the elderly on top of that, because I'm sorry, they're up in there with us.
Mhm.
So you
Absolutely.
got the elderly, the OIAS, and I think it's GIS for you
G
guys.
GIS and there's
Yeah.
and there's
Yeah.
Yeah.
yes.
And I believe that, like, put that together in a UBI system, we're gonna be fine. You
You know
don't
what?
do it in a UBI system
Yeah.
for just social assistance. Like, I'm not saying, okay, everybody, let's go crazy and put everybody, switch it all to a UBI system, because then we're gonna have a bunch of fat, lazy Canadians.
You know what's a great segue to that, Chantel, is just the other day, Brent,
Mm.
you sent me a link from Lee Gazan,
Great.
who
Yes.
she's trying to push for her bill, the GLBI, the Guaranteed Livable Basic Income, which is
Mhm.
basically UBI, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And she was saying, based on her numbers, she says that Canada wide, she said that poverty Canada wide is costing Canada. It was, what was it, 86 billion?
Yes.
Yeah, it's
It was
Yes.
86
50,000,
$86 billion it costs the
50,000 per
country.
person a month
Yeah.
to keep us in legislative poverty.
Yeah.
It's 50,000 for each person to be kept down
Mhm.
Yeah.
rather than to be lifted up. And
Yeah.
put in these kind of programs. Like, where's the training? Back in the day, they used to give free schooling to disabled people so that you could go to school and become whatever you wanted,
Mhm.
Yeah.
basically, so that
And they
you
used
could
to
be
give pensions.
trained.
They used to give pensions,
Yeah,
Brent.
Here's
yeah, I
here's
know. And
a little clip of Lee Kazan about a presentation that she mentioned in the House of Commons just last week. I'm going to
yeah,
put it here. Hopefully, people can hear it and see it. And excuse for the audio. Okay, 1 second.
The honourable member for Winnipeg Centre. Madam Speaker, under the Liberals, Feed Ontario has reported an 8-year high in food bank usage. The report cited the lack of a social safety net as a cause for this crisis. Now, I know the sore losing leader of the Conservative Party is only concerned with protecting his rich friends and that people will get poor under his watch. So my question is for the Liberals. Will they listen to award-winning economists and support my bill C-223 to put in place a framework for a guaranteed livable basic income so people can afford to eat?
yeah. I heard that
Yeah.
last week, and I was just like, how ingenious that it's an Indigenous woman bringing that up,
Mhm.
because that's the way we've lived for thousands of years. Like, let's go back to that.
Mhm.
Like what?
I can remember Chantel decades ago, but it all seems like yesterday because time flies by so fast.
Mm,
The buying power, and I was at a grocery store just the other day, and just struck up a conversation. I mean, go figure, right? But we were
yeah,
talking about the cost of living. Like I saw just at the checkout, they got all this other stuff. Always at all these checkouts, people see all these pack of bubble gum, $1. And I was looking and I said, well, I remember when that was 25 cents. She goes,
yeah,
uh-huh. She says,
yeah.
I remember when it was 10 cents. I'm like, whoa, okay. I don't
So,
remember that
yeah,
far back.
no,
But she said there was no tax. There was no tax on these things.
yeah,
And you could get so much more value for your dollar. Now, the same $20, you could only maybe get maybe either one item or two items. $100 worth of groceries, you're lucky if you can get $20 or $25 worth of the same amount of groceries. It just doesn't go very far.
no,
Yeah, it really doesn't.
no. It
Yeah.
doesn't, and they don't. They're like, my worker was. It was funny. She's like, well, you're supposed to have $100 for food a day. I'm like,
Oh, right, right,
I'm
right.
$100 for
the
food a
only
day.
paying.
That would be nice, wouldn't
In a,
it?
in a
I'm
fictional
like,
world, yeah.
Yeah.
where are you getting what you smoke? And like, what's your name of your supplier? Because I need some of that shit.
So
Because
$100 of food a day, that would work out to $3,000 just in food budget.
Just
yeah,
in food, wow.
yeah,
And then
Yeah.
right,
and you got your rent on top, and now your bills. Wow.
And
Like,
and
yeah,
and you're getting $1,500, Brent. So that's like only half of your food budget, only half
yeah,
of your
yeah, yeah.
recommended food budget.
50% of it already goes to rent right there.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because that's the same with me. Like, you're only paying 1,200 of the 1,584 that I'm supposed to be paying for my rent. That gets taken out of my food budget,
Yep.
which is for my children. And you want me to like say that I'm happy about your situation and the things that you've put us through? The fight that we had to go through with C-35 was immense, and we did all these interviews with the government, and
Yep.
people went actually down to Parliament, and we they stated their plight, and now it's like they were like, well, we did that, but we weren't listening. We didn't give a shit about you guys.
It's almost like
We
it's almost like it never even happened, right? It's almost like it
right,
never even happened.
Well,
Like
and
they
well,
just
that's why
they
people
just
don't know about
erased
it.
all that. Yeah.
that's why they delayed it for 4.5 years, right?
Yeah.
Because they just it was all more just an announcement saying, "Oh, we'll make an announcement, and the public will think disabled people are all taken care of now that they've now got their CDB." No, no, we haven't. We're still waiting
No,
for something that was promised. I mean, if the federal government wanted to promise something, you need to deliver on something you promised. And my mom always told me one thing. God rest her soul. She'd say, Brent, if you're going to make a promise, you need to follow through on what you say you're going to do. So it's like if I say I'm going to do a podcast and I'm going to have a guest on, I'm going to follow through with what I'm saying I'm going to do, right?
yeah,
Because,
yeah,
otherwise people say, Brent, you're just a hypocrite.
And it's the same thing with the CRPD, right?
Same thing.
The
yeah,
charter for the rights for our convention for the rights of people with disabilities that was signed back in
2010.
2010. So
yeah.
we're almost 15 years later. Can you
And
imagine
still,
if you came to me with your podcast idea?
yeah.
It was back in 2022. Can you imagine if I said, well, you know what, Brandon, that's a great idea. Let's revisit that in 15 years.
Yeah.
You
Mhm.
know, that's
Oh, exactly.
that's basically what the government's doing with the CRPD. Like if
Yeah.
almost 15 years later, like they signed onto it, but like where's the
That's,
fruits? Where's the fruits of that?
yeah, and I'll give another example to our listeners and our viewers. Exactly what we're talking about now. It's like, yeah, we'll revisit down the road. It's like keeping like shelter rates, like in Ontario and BC, they seem to kind of copy each other on shelter of a competition. Well, I bet if you up your shelter rate, BC will do yours. Well, back and forth. It's like policies. It's like stop the policies. The regulations are archaic. We need to revisit this and rewrite it. It's not hard because I remember in programming, it's not hard to write a script to do that. It's a command lines. and all they have to do is change all this stuff. It's really not hard. So I guess my point is that keeping shelter rates frozen for, oh my gosh, like I used to post it every freaking month. It was like almost like, okay, yeah, today's the day I'm gonna post it. Now it's been how many months it's been frozen.
Yeah.
So to a point where the politicians probably thought, okay, this guy's driving me freaking batty. Now he's pissing me off. Okay, we're gonna unfreeze it just to say here's a $125 increase.
Yeah.
So $375, that's what I was known for, the $375 guy. Now I'm the $500 guy.
Yeah.
So you tell me anywhere, and this is referring to BC, and then I'm going to talk about Ontario and other provinces, but $375. So it's frozen. So now $500. Tell me, where can you rent a place in BC or anywhere in Canada for $500? Market?
You can't.
You cannot anywhere.
A tent. That's the only thing you can rent for $500 is a tent.
And even on Ontario, like on the shelter portion that they get on top of their ODSP, which is actually means included. Sorry, it's included. It's like BC. You cannot rent anywhere for market rent for a full total amount. This is absurd. It needs to be completely abolished. Like I know, and I don't like to peg other provinces against other provinces, but Alberta, for instance, they don't have that. They have a flat amount. They don't have a certain section of saying, well, this is support, this is shelter. It's like just give them the money, and they're going to find a place to rent where they can find. If it's like they're maybe staying at someone's house for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or just something temporarily. Well, if you don't have a permanent address, the government wants to claw back that shelter portion. Yeah, this is terrible.
It's like you barely give me enough to pay my shelter dues anyway. And look at how many kids are out there in the tent cities.
Oh my
Children.
Gosh. Yes,
like babies even.
And let's talk about we're talking about housing right now, and let's talk about like we actually want to devote a whole show, and we have in the past anyway, but we wanted to get a MP on hopefully soon, because we wanted to talk about kind of these micro discriminations. I want to call them. There's micro discriminations that are baked in to, like here in BC, for example, we have what's called BC Housing, which is the subsidized housing program for British Columbia here. And there's all kinds of these baked in micro discrimination policies where you said it before, Brent, like if you're not in a relationship, if you're not married to somebody, you automatically get passed over. That's one. And the other thing is, other big one is, if you're not making enough income to begin with, you're going to get passed over by landlords, and that's discriminatory too. So there's so much baked in, like I said, baked in micro discrimination policies, and the government's like, well, who cares? It's not affecting me. Like, who cares? But I mean, these are huge issues, and everybody's just turning a blind eye to it. Like,
there are huge issues.
No big deal. No big deal.
Because the problem with it is not even just under the housing sector, BC housing sector in British Columbia, it's also in market housing too. I'm glad you mentioned that, because there are corporate landlords, and I'm going to do a segment in the near future regarding that too. But I'll give you just a quick overview. Corporate landlords, they're requiring you to pay a certain amount of money in order to rent at their property. If you can't provide that information, they won't rent from you. And so, but that also falls under BC housing. They're saying that there's they want to make it affordable housing. Well, for who? What's affordable? And they're saying that you have to be making like anywhere from $50,000 to $191,000. I'm sorry, like, in what world does a person make up to $191,000 a year to have affordable housing?
Yeah.
For a place that you can rent for, like, say, 15. Well, the rents used to be 15, but $1,800, $1,900 now. Well, you got to be making like $60,000, $70,000 to rent a place. That's how much. Well, PWD, so you get $500 for your shelter.
Yeah.
And you go to a landlord, they look at you, are you for real? You know?
I'm not giving you a place for
Yeah.
$500. Like,
Yeah.
bounce.
And you say, well, I can pay my rent. They're like, well, yeah, but you got to be making this much money to rent here. Well, you know, and someone that I know in close to my life had just recently told me a story about it. My jaw dropped. I was like, what is still happening? Oh my God.
Yeah.
So I think the government needs to be made aware of that. There are some bad corporate landlords out there, but also it's also under their umbrella too.
Yeah.
Requiring this. So it's not just
Yeah.
on the other side, away from government supportive housing.
And to put a finer point on this, Brent, to put a even finer point on this, like I've dealt with, and everybody knows this. I've dealt with the BC Human Rights Tribunal for for a long time, for the last 11 years. I've submitted like 4 official complaints to the BC Human Rights Tribunal, and I know as one of their things that they talk about is that tenancy, that for rents and stuff. So landlord tenancy things, that can be an area of discrimination. Like when you talk about source of income, because right now, like for my clawback, for example, the clawback of my survivor's pension, they say that source of income is not a grounds of discrimination, which is bogus, completely bogus.
Yeah.
But they say that source of income is a grounds of discrimination if it's connected to tenancy, right? So if you have a tenancy situation that where they're discriminating against source of income, then that's a grounds of discrimination. So I mean, the government's saying that's discriminatory, and yet their own policies, the way they have things set up, it's like it's discriminatory through the yin yang, right? I mean, it's so stupid. Like,
right, because somebody could say, well, this is my pension, and they could want to rent somewhere. No, this is my pension. Oh, okay. So the landlord said yes, but the government then says, no, we need to claw that off because it's not classified as earned income. They classified as unearned income under provincial governments. Federal government says it is earned income, but provincial government says it's unearned income. So it's like they're not communicating with each other and actually keeping that dialogue going so that it actually helps people get ahead in life and actually put that money back into society. I mean, wow. I mean, what a concept. It's like it's like having, if I had Tom, the basic income guy, Victoria basic income guy on, he would be all over this, be like, wow, Brent, what a concept.
We have another comment from, sorry to break in, Brent, but we have another comment from chat. Okay. I just wanted to break in. It's from Melvin. Hi,
Melvin.
Melvin comes on a lot, and I just wanted to ask Melvin, if you are listening, can you because he says here you need a credit card to rent an apartment. So I just wanted to clarify where Melvin is. Is he in? Are you in Ontario, Melvin, or where are you? Because he says in order to rent an apartment, he says here you need to have a credit card on file. So I'd like to know. I'd like to know if you wouldn't mind, Melvin. I'd like to know where it is that you live. So I can pass.
I know they have the credit check programs, and they make you have like someone to like co-sign and all that here. It's very difficult to get an apartment here, but I never had to put a credit card down yet, thankfully.
Yeah.
So that would be something new in Ontario, though, because Doug Ford likes to change things.
Yeah, Melvin's saying Kelowna, BC.
Really?
Oh, okay.
So he's in BC just like you and me,
Oh,
Brent.
I've never Kelowna.
He's in Kelowna, and he says that he's required to have a credit card.
Melvin, it must be something new under the Tenancy Act. I'll have to check with the. Well, we're having a provincial election right now, but the former minister who was in charge of the file under BC Housing was MLA Ravi Kalon. Now, because we're having a provincial election, there is no MLAs anymore, but you may want to check maybe with your local your riding association, and like whoever is your your elected candidate that's running, check with them on that, and actually bring it to
Laura,
their attention. Yeah.
isn't that Benita Zarilla's area?
She's in Port Moody, Coquitlam.
Yeah.
For the MP. But yeah, maybe Melvin, maybe even bring it to her, Benita's attention, because she's still active minister. They haven't pulled the plug on a non-confidence motion yet here. Hopefully that doesn't happen anytime soon, because we need to hold the federal Liberals to account to commit to their promise, right? The CDB.
Well, now that it's a law, all the Conservatives have to do is like follow it.
Yeah, it's not
It's
hard.
already there. The law's already there. The statements of what we're supposed to get is already there. Everything's in place. All they have to do is implement it so that we can get the money. That's it. Take it from the non-citizen people and give it to your citizens, and watch how many houses or 10 cities go away.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one huge part of the formula, is providing people with the proper resources, the financial resources. And yes, it will make tent cities start going away. And then, there's the other part too, where, to get the proper help for some other individuals that are in tent cities. Just a quick overview of it, because it's very complex. But the other part is to give people the proper money to house themselves, to keep them in a good, secure housing situation, and also having it so that it's based on the individual, not the household. And that's where the governments have failed, in provincial and federally. They keep giving that household income. And the same as food banks.
Because that really drops the ball on autonomy, doesn't it?
It really does. Because I've noticed that even in the food banks, Neil, where even a recreation pass is based on household income. It needs to be based on the individual, because one person may say, I want to go to the gym, I want to go to the recreation center. But if household income is now part of the criteria, which it is, now qualifies, say, 2 people. Say I wanted to go to the gym, and and say Sonia wanted to go to the gym. Well, it comes to a point where, no, I'm sorry, only one of you can go.
Yeah.
Because they based on household income. So that needs to be changed, so that if a person is fleeing violence, or they're in a very insecure housing situation, it now is to be based on that individual, so that the income is not changed. It doesn't hurt the one person. Giving person enough money so they can rent by themselves if they want to, if they choose to do that in life. And give people that choice. What's your view, Chantelle? I want to get your view on something about, we mentioned about the word autonomy quite a bit on the show, but I want to get your view on people who are designated as a person with disabilities in Canada. Okay, it doesn't matter what province you're in. Should you, in your view, should a person be able to move to whatever province they want and not have to apply for a CDB or for a DTC in order to get the whatever program it is?
I'm a Canadian citizen. I should be able to go anywhere in Canada and still have the same benefits as everybody in that area does. So, they don't give us anywhere near enough, but I would love to go visit BC and see what that's like one day. My dad came from Cape Breton.
Oh, yes.
In Nova Scotia. So, sure, I would love to go and see where he grew up as a boy and stuff like that, and move around. But we can't. They've kept us segregated in our little bubbles. And that's why I said we're in little pods. We're and they don't give a crap what happens to us. And that's the sad part.
Yeah.
And I would like to welcome Daniel Ward in from Ward 15. He just popped in.
Yeah, I saw that.
Giving little breadcrumbs. Throwing little increases here and there, and then going a year, skip a year, and then Doug Ford, in Ontario, saying, we actually gave an increase. We tied it to inflation. They should be all happy. Well, I'm sorry, sir.
No, I'm not happy. It was $200.
Rates up to the poverty level, no less. That Jeff Leggett always says, everyone, no less than poverty level. More, yes, but the bare minimum needs to be no less than that poverty level. And that poverty level is Canada's official poverty level. And again, every province in Canada and territory is not meeting that standard. Why? Why are we not meeting that standard? Why are we not taking care of our brothers and sisters, our grandparents? I mean, everybody. We all live in a wealthy country. Why can't we take care of our own citizens? We can take care of people coming into our country, no problem. Yeah, like Chantelle
Well, he even broke our military. I mean, look at our military.
Yeah,
for God's sakes, if anything happens, like Russia wants to come over here, what are we gonna do? We got broken down equipment,
yeah,
and very few reserves. So
we might as well roll out the welcome mat.
Yeah, right. Like, hey,
Yeah.
come on in, right from the Arctic. Come right in. No problem. We'll even like roll out the mat. No problem. Like it doesn't work that way. We used to have a very strong military.
Oh yeah,
When I was growing up, it was very strong.
Canada was a very strong military system.
Very, very much so. I mean, and at one point, I mean, we built the Admiral. For God's sakes, we had the military. Now, my grandfather would be disgusted with the military and what has happened to it. Guys are coming home and their wives have no house for them to come home to.
Yeah. My mom fought. Well, she didn't fight in the war. We're kind of reword that. She helped in they had tents set up for first aid, and my mom used to stock it all up. She would help out on the front lines with injured soldiers that would come forward. She would set up all different food supplies that they needed to help keep the first responders going to help the people that were injured and severely injured veterans. And my grandmother did. My grandmother fought in the war. And I remember hearing stories is like when food banks came, there was no food banks, there were soup kitchens, and not even barely that. That was just something temporary. And as things evolved, like things were tough, things were hard, they were never easy. And I want the younger generation to really listen very carefully. Things were never easy many years ago, right? After World War, things were never easy. People had it tough. I mean, sure, things may have been cheap, but they were never easy to achieve. You had to work hard to get what you want. Nowadays, I got some people in my neighborhood, and they're driving these Rolls Royces, Lamborghinis, these young kids. There's no respect of a value for a dollar. Like, you really have to stretch that dollar. And so as I grew up, my mom always taught me, and I always refer to my mom because I grew up from my mom as a single mother because my father left when I was just a little child. He got kicked out because he had a drinking problem. So my mom booed him out the door saying, "Get the hell out of here. I don't want my kids to grow up around that." And and I thank her so much. She taught me so much about being respectful, and trying to get the most value for your dollar, stretch that dollar as far as you can, because she predicted this. She said, we're going to go into a bad recession going forward. And she says, I go, when? She says, I don't know. She said, but everyone has to be prepared for it. I said, okay, so rates are going to get increased. She goes, that's when the government is usually supposed to take care of their citizens, is that when economic times get tough, you give them more. So now they can actually put more money back into society. Seniors, people with disabilities, because small businesses are going to start struggling really bad, and they already are. Corporations are taken care of, and one of the MPs, Peter Julian, who we've had on, always echoes this same phrase, and I'm going to throw it out there for you, Peter. We take care of our corporations. They, tax giveaways. They don't pay their fair share. The oligarchies, they're well taken care of. Can we not take care of our citizens?
And we want you back on again,
Peter. Peter. You're welcome to come on here. We reached out to your administration, and we've echoed that for you to come on. So let your administration know that yes, we want you on, and please, just
what I wanted to do, Brent, is I wanted to bring it back to disability and parenting. I know we've kind of we've kind of we covered a
we
lot
did
today,
right
but
there.
I just kind of wanted to I kind of wanted to bring it back to that, and
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
can start doing maybe closing comments, but bring it back to the disability and parenting thing. So
Mhm.
what are some of the big takeaways coming back
I
to the
had an
parenting issue?
idea, and the school didn't want to like go for it. But you know what? How many teenagers have extra clothes in their closet that they don't wear because it's not cool this year? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
have them, and you're supposed to like do how many hours of community service? Why don't you guys set up a room, bring all the clothes in, put it in like sections, and be like, hey, if you need clothes, come on in. We'll work it just like a clothing drive type situation. If you were to put that in every school,
Oh wow.
no
It's a
kid
great idea.
would
Great idea.
be
It would
without
help.
clothes. No kid would be without food, shoes, and books, school supplies, and backpacks. You know what I mean? We would have it already there.
There was something that I had heard just the other day. You might have seen it too, Chantelle, on Twitter. They said something about the conservative government and federal conservative government had just recently voted down a food program for children in schools. Yeah, pretty sad. I mean, politics playing that against children.
Mhm.
And I mean, I always still say the same thing. Just provide people with enough resources they can buy for their children, and that's usually the number one goal is to be able to provide for your children. And sadly, there's school programs that are there. I mean, to help the children with the school food program. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, right? But again, number one goal is to make sure that the parents have enough resources themselves to have enough money to buy the goods and services that they need for their children. But canceling a food program, come on, seriously,
Yeah.
like that's just
Right.
wrong, right? I mean, you're hurting the children, you're hurting society by doing that, by voting down proper things that are going to help people and achieve their number one successes in life. Because children are going to remember that when they get older, right? They do
Yeah.
vote. And I guess with what I'm trying to say is PWD do vote in Canada. We vote provincially, we vote federally. So you need to listen to people with lived experience stories, government, from all levels. Okay, stop the politics. Start listening to lived experience stories. Okay, because we're all going to get there one way or another in life.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're
And-
gonna eventually get like to the point where we're gonna have to sue the government if they don't give us the legislation that it was passed through by every member of parliament, because we're gonna get fed up. And eventually, if we all get fed up and we all stand together and say, I'm done, and everybody has like a general strike, they're gonna listen. They have no choice. Just like
Exactly.
the railroad. Look how quickly he jumped on that. He got that fixed right quick, didn't he, when he got back from his vacation that we lovingly paid for. And you know what? They don't do nothing. They just sit there until a problem gets so big that it smacks them in the face.
Well, you get all the cargo that gets all backlogged, and I mean, one day, there was and everything just all got backlogged, and they just streamlined through everything you see and just threw everything out there just to make a point to the government, going, "Now look what you did." So again, and that would billions of dollars if that would have continued. That would have been so devastating to the whole society.
Like 9 years ago, I was able to supply 5 children with clothes for school, food, and housing, and I got it done. I mean, I stretched that dollar as tight as she could go, but they got clothes for school. They got books and bags and everything for school. Now I like $66 for like a shoe.
Yeah.
For a box of pencils, maybe even, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'll give you one example, like getting the most value for a dollar, like how tight it is in for people living with disabilities. I mean, already, I mean, because of high market rent, bills, food, you name it, extra expenses that come up to do with their disability. I mean, you got to get new glasses. I mean, eyewear doesn't get covered by government. I mean, you still got to pay a deductible on it. You
Yep.
and Neil mentioned go to the dentist. I mean, same thing, right? I mean, office visit. I mean, if you need a new enhanced e-reader for for vision wise or for any accessibility wise, you name it. Like I mean, the list goes on. I mean, you need a new scooter or anything. I mean, just the other day, our washing machine in our building. I mean, it's all full, still full of water. We had to go laundering that unexpectedly. Oof, like $26. Like, okay, where am I gonna get that?
That can add up, eh? Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and again, people are still using those machines and they're still filling the water. Like, really, people, like I've seen someone put all the laundry in, it's like half full of water, and they're throwing their laundry in there. Ooh, anyway, it washes, but now it's still full of water again. So now all that soppy amount of laundry they throw in the dryer, it's now all like major amount of water in there. So it's gonna now damage those dryers pretty bad, I'm sure, over time. Sure, the management company loves it because they're going to make even more money on those dryers because people are going to have to do probably three times.
My building must get so much money from people doing laundry because I tell you, it's like what, $2-3 for one little wash, and I'm like, there's 4 of us. It's gonna take more than one little wash to do it. Like,
No, exactly, and I mean ours had coin system, and people are saying they want a card system because it's easier. But management company doesn't want to do that. You know why? Because then they have to pay for a network fee, and then there's a paper trail. This way, it's coin. They don't have to count for it, right? They can, so I don't know what's going on there, but I mean, every month I go to the bank and they're like, yeah, we keep hearing about this all the time. You know, these companies, they don't want to put it in. I mean, I've rented at a company where they had a card system. You tap it on there, boom, it just takes it right out of your account. You select it, and you don't have to jump on a bus and it's pouring rain or bad snowy conditions outside. The last thing you want to do is head down to a bank to go and get changed to go and do laundry, right? Accessibility issues and trying to climb stairs and when it's slippery and oh man.
I think just before Chantelle gives her closing comment, I just wanted to give my 2 cents if I can. I'll take 2 minutes. When we started the show, we were saying that there's 2 situations where you can take the show. You can say there's either children with disabilities and they're supported by parents, or there's a parent with a disability and they're trying to support able-bodied kids. And like I said, in my situation, I'm a parent with a disability. I'm supporting my able-bodied son, right? And again, I mean, I always say this all the time, but I just wanted to spend like 1 minute again to say, it bugs me that they do the clawback because, it was back in 2015 that the provincial government finally said, that my son is entitled to his $200 orphans portion of the survivor's pension, right? But my survivor's pension in total was over $700, so they're still clawing back $500 from me as the parent. And it just bugs me that the government can draw a line in the sand and say, well, your son deserves his $200, but you as the parent who is supporting the son, who is supporting your son, you as the parent don't deserve your $500, where all that $500 is going to go to my son anyway. But you know what I mean? Like the idea that the government's going to draw a line in the sand and say, okay, your son is entitled to that $200 orphans portion, but we're not going to support you, the parent, where you're going to take that $500 and further support your son. We're not going to do that because that's just nuts.
We're just going to give it to him, and he's going to be like, yeah, it's PlayStation time.
and he can support himself. He doesn't need you, the parent, to have any money.
Right?
You the parent. You the parent don't need any money. It's fine.
Well, if you look at it in my situation, there's four of us. We're all on disability. I got two neurodivergents. I'm neurodivergent. Not to mention, I only have one leg. I have vascular Ehlers-Danlos. I've had 48 surgeries because I've had 48 septic infections. And I just want my kids to be able to grow up semi-normal. I mean, they have to deal with mom may not be home when I get home from school. I don't want them to be like, oh, and I was treated like a nerd when I went to school with my pants halfway up my legs.
Yeah.
You know, I just want to be able to get them clothing, food, heat, and like normal things that a kid shouldn't have to worry about, that my
Yeah.
kids do worry about. Oh, if I get like a cucumber, mom, is that gonna break the bank? Get the
Yeah.
cucumber. I'll go without. I have gone without 5 days so that my children can eat every day.
Mhm.
Thank you.
So
Thank you on that, Chantelle.
that's
I totally echo what you're saying on that. As growing up, my mom did the same thing for me. She would basically make sure there's food on the table. She would go hungry, and she would
yep,
tell my story. She would go hungry for days, and of course, back then, it's like as a single mother, my mom was always worried. Well, the government would say, "Well, you're not taking care of your children, right?" I mean, there was a point in her life where uh, there was a lady would show up at the door every so often.
yeah,
Who is she, right?
yes.
She was
Ooh.
from the social services, just to make sure
Mhm.
that I was being not being malnutritioned. Or my mom's like, no, no, and I was fine. And so the lady would ask me, and I would say, like, who are you? Like, and I was just a little kid, but I
Yeah,
remember. And I
yeah,
said, no, I'm full. I'm comfortable. And I said, sometimes there's always things that sometimes my mom would make that I didn't like too much, but I knew I had to eat it because I would go hungry. Oh,
that's
so you don't like what your mother makes? I said, no, no. I said, I go, she's doing the best she could. Oh, your mother told you to say that. I go, don't put words in my mouth. I remember
yeah,
saying that. I said, don't put words in my mouth. I
Yeah.
said, because
yeah.
there's things that I don't want to eat. I said, I'll just swallow it down with water, swallow it
Yeah,
whole, right? But as a kid, I mean, yeah, like I remember times where my mom would sacrifice, Chantelle. She would sacrifice so much just to make sure that I had clothing, or she'd go to the secondhand store. She'd be working
uh-huh,
at 3, 4 jobs, like part-time
yeah,
jobs.
yeah,
I'd go to school. She'd be just going to work, and then she'd be doing a crossword. Heck, go figure, crosswalk guard where I was
Mhm.
going to
mhm.
school. So she made sure that I was actually in school. Like, darn it all.
No
Yeah,
skipping for
Oh,
you.
yeah. So,
I'm sure my parents would have loved that part because
oh yeah,
I
yeah.
was one of those kids that, okay, I'm walking to school, but oh, look, that looks cool. Let's go like see where that leads me. And
Or
then I would spend the day in the forest walking.
yeah, yeah. Well, then of course, then we have this store and have these little arcade games, right? And the kids in the
Mhm.
school would be all like, "Oh hey, oh no, are
Yeah,
you supposed to be going to school now?" And they'll come up there. Oh man, my mom's at the crosswalk guard. Oh geez,
yeah.
yeah. Oh, yeah. You're
Mhm.
supposed to be
But
in school already. Yeah, I'm heading there now.
yeah,
Long story short, I guess on it is, look, government, having guests on as lived experience stories, talking about how things affect their lives, people with disabilities, children, you name it. We need to work together. We need to work and fix the systems that are archaically broken. You know it, government. We know it. We can tell you we know it because we live it, right? And we're teaching you that it's not okay to, as going forward, the way that the systems are designed right now.
yeah.
Basic income obviously is going to be of whatever form it may be going forward is the way that it's going to have to go. I know that their government's probably right now kicking and screaming and biting and hollering and scratching. I always make a joke about this in a funny way of how I word this, but I'm being very
Mhm.
serious at the same time.
Yeah,
Because we've talked about these things on the show many times, having people with different perspectives about like a UBI or basic income,
mhm.
different versions of it. that is the way that things are going to have to go. If you don't want to do a CDB, like get it going for now, get it going.
Yeah.
We can actually work with it and develop it into a form of a GLBI or basic income, whatever it may be. But provinces, this is a message for all the premiers and territories in Canada. So you relied upon the CDB, the federal government, because that's what they said they were going to do. 4.5 years later, okay, do you see that happening? I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening in the near future. I'm hearing rumbles, and I'm sure Chantelle, you must be hearing it too. I'm hearing rumbles. 2028 now, maybe 2028 up to $200. Okay, so provinces, you need to now take control and actually take care of your citizens. Okay, or your residents. Okay, in your province, we are citizens of Canada, but you need to take care of your residents in your province. Get it up to the no less than poverty level. Once the federal government kicks in, if they actually do and fix this up to based on individual, not household income, then they can maybe now relax that part. Okay, and the other part's going to kick in, and then we make a basic income for the whole country. Voila, bing, bada, boom. That's hard.
Yeah, it's not
by
that
2020,
hard.
Yeah, I was going to say by 2028 I'll be over 60. So
Wow.
you know, I only will have like maybe 4 years left to be even qualified for the stupid thing.
Gee, guess whose birthday's in 4 days?
Oh, that's true. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Coming up here.
I just turned 43.
And to Sonia as well.
Yeah, everybody, happy birthday. Whose birthday it is, and I wish that like there's so many people that I see online that is like, I can't eat. I don't have food. My husband's diabetic and he needs to eat. And it's like, I wish I could give to every single one of you people, but I can't even give to my own family. It's so difficult. Like, and back in the day, I used to like be like, here, throw $20 at somebody, no problem.
Yeah, I know. I used to be able to do that myself. Someone would really need me help, and I would just do a need transfer. I'd buy something off their wish list because the financial resources were there, but the buying power. What happens when the government doesn't give an increase? They go a year and skip a year, and then you get a high rent increase notice. And I mentioned this on the radio one day, Chantelle. I was on a local radio station. And I got to talk to the premier of our province, and I was asked a question, and I said, "Well, so I got a rent increase, right? And my landlord wanted to know why didn't we get a rent increase, an increase by the government? Because I gave you an increase," and completely sidestepped the actual answer. And again, my manager still wants to know the answer. It wasn't me asking; it was my manager. I mean. The government, like my manager asked a question, and so I actually relayed it out there, and so they're still waiting on the answer. Like, why did
they don't like to answer questions, Brent?
But here's the other and here's the other part of the equation when we're talking about clawbacks. So BC, they raised it by $125 last year in 2023. This year, $0 increase because we gave an increase last year, so it's good enough. But here's the other part: they didn't give people in RGI housing, rent guaranteed income. They did not give $125. It's like, nah, you guys don't need it. We'll give it to people in market housing. Why? Why divide disabled against disabled? They're costing.
Well, you know what? That way, there we get into arguments. But
exactly, 100%.
We can't. Yeah, don't divide us. You can't divide us.
Exactly.
We all know what different disabilities is like, so we're already divided. Don't try and do it dismissively.
Yeah,
we know what you're doing. We're disabled, not stupid. That's what I say all the time to the MPs. I may be disabled, but I ain't stupid. And I may have been born at night, but it wasn't last night. So
and dividing up, saying, well, that part of the segment of population, they don't deserve to have increase because their rent is already subsidized. Okay, but their cost of living, their disabilities have gone up too, like the different resources that they need. I mean, saying, you get to have that. Oh, how about market housing? Oh, well, you get to pay high rent. Oh, do we? Oh, okay. Oh, but we don't get an increase. Like, come on! Like they're playing that whole
shell game.
Yeah. I don't like
the shell game.
I never liked shell games.
No, because it's always been a scam.
Yeah, it's like Chantelle. It's like that little shell. It's like, okay, what kind of cola is under it? Is this Pepsi or Coca-Cola
Or
Yeah.
or the brand or the no name
or
brand?
you know what else we can call it? We can call it ring around the unicorn. Ring
Or
around the
Yeah.
unicorn.
Yeah.
or Neil. Oh, who's behind door number 1, folks? Door number
Unicorn.
2, unicorns. Oh
Yeah.
wow, it's
Door
magically
number 1, 2, and 3 all have unicorns. Yeah.
yeah.
If we all stand together and we all vote together and we make sure that Pierre doesn't have a majority vote, then
Yes.
you know what? Everybody will get heard. If we make sure that it's all conservatives in there, we're screwed. We just pooched ourselves again. If we ensure that it's a mixed bag, then everybody's got a say, and then it's a partisan situation. And that's what we need. We need people at the table who are going to fight for the rights of Canadians, not just for the rights of their pocket.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Being said, thank you, Chantelle. That's a good closing comment. Is get out there and vote, people. Your vote counts. You have that inner soul of who you are, of what you want to see changed in Canada, and you can get out there and actually make a change in what you're voting. Because if you're a person with disability, you know a person in your life that has a disability. You can become disabled yourself. Maybe your sons, your daughters have disabilities. We all can vote, right? We can all get out there and vote. Imagine how many people who have disabilities that have hidden disabilities, you haven't been diagnosed yet. Well, that even adds more to the amount of population. That number is into the millions and millions and millions. Wow, imagine all those people who can vote. We can make a change.
Yeah.
So I want to thank everyone for tuning into our special broadcast extended version today. It's been great to have Chantelle Montour joining me. And Chantelle, anytime you want to come on and talk about these lived experience, pressing issues in your life that affect you and many others in the disability community, please reach out, and I would love to have you on. Because these are an ongoing situation that don't change overnight, and they never will change in lifetime, right? Because these are disabilities that don't go away, but the government can go away anytime soon if they don't want to change their policies and their regulations.
Exactly. The policies need to be changed, and they need to be changed by the people. They don't need to be changed by the policymakers, because obviously they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, we teach them how to do it.
We need to teach them how to do it and what we need, and be like, hey, you know what? We gotta mold you to what we need, not what you want and what you want to put in your pocket.
Exactly.
You know what? Take it out of your pocket and give to Canadians. Like, let's tax the rich. Let's tax the big corporations. You want to tax carbon tax? Go after them. Don't come after me, because I don't have enough carbon to make a footprint, let alone. So, and I'm a carbon-based life form, as is everything else that's living on this planet. Like, what are you going to do? Tax me next for living?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that's what never makes any sense, Like when this carbon tax came out, it was supposed to be revenue neutral. And the government goes, "Oh, wait a minute, we can actually make money on this." But let's go after the consumer. Let's tax them rather than going and actually giving a free ride to the big corporations. Going the oil guardians. Oh yeah, don't worry. You guys can keep just jacking it up, and hey, no big deal there. I mean, you get a free ride, but everybody else, we're gonna keep taxing you more and more. Tax upon tax. We need to get rid of all that. Let's just go and then tackle the actual.
Melvin says, "I vote Neil." That's nice. I was gonna say that you and I, Brent, should offer maybe a 2-day course on for governments, both MLAs and MPs, on how to fix pink unicorn policies, how to kill all the unicorns.
I think we should
how to kill all the unicorns. That should be the title of our seminar. Yes. How to kill all the pink unicorns.
So any MLA or MP would like to come on, and we will give you a seminar on. We'll teach you, and Chantelle, we'll have you there as a panel, right?
Yes.
We'll teach. Yeah,
I got lots of ideas.
We'll school the politicians on how to actually fix the system.
Yeah.
Don't worry
Yeah.
about your stakeholders, government. I mean, I have no use for the stakeholders, right? They're telling you what to do, right? They can go away.
Exactly.
You need to listen to us. We're going to teach you how to actually build the system.
I think on their way out, they need to be all forensically audited and see exactly where our dang money went
Yeah.
for the last 9 years.
No, for sure.
Boy, Ford would be running from Canada, wouldn't he?
Retroactive back, yes. And
Show me the money.
and the people that
Yeah,
are watching it, we're not going to give up on Derb, okay? Derb.
No,
Yeah.
Derb, that's right. We
Derb
need to
is
get
the word.
some, like,
Yeah.
yeah, Derb's the word.
We're gonna
That's
keep pumping that back out there. I know they're gonna say, "Well, no, that's already gone." No, it's not. It's still there. It's still live and
Yeah.
well, just like unicorn.
Derb is
Live and
still
well.
there. We're still loud and proud.
I got a
we
whole
still-
bag of pins there, Chantelle. I got a whole bag. I was actually given a
Yeah.
bag recently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Joseph, on that, by the way. Yeah. Thank you, Chantelle.
Yes,
Great pleasure.
thank you guys for allowing me back on your podcast.
Always.
And I only reach out when I got something to bitch or bellyache about, but
That's okay. That's okay. That's what it's all about, is to make your story well known and let the politicians know that it's not okay. Okay. Even though you tell us it's okay, no, we're telling you it's not okay.
it's not okay.
4.5 years and you're waiting. And today is the final day for regulations of writing that CDB, by the way, everyone. So please submit your statements in. Let them know what you want to see. No less than $2,000, okay? $200 up to, and it's tied to the BTC. Like, seriously,
They wouldn't ignore us again, would they, Brent?
No,
would they ignore us again? I don't know.
Oh no, never. They're sending them pink rainbows and unicorns right over to your house, Nails. They're gonna pick you up and you guys are gonna fly away like a Pegasus
on that magic carpet. They're gonna make that magic carpet there, Neil. They're gonna take you that way. Do I think that they're gonna comply with that regulation in time? No. They have their own agenda.
I'm gonna sing us out, okay? Okay, and everybody can join in. Someone left the cake out in the rain, and I don't think I can take it, 'cause it took so long to bake it, and I'll never have that recipe again. Oh no. Goodbye,
Thanks everyone for tuning in today.
Thank you.